everyone. My name is Miguel Myers. Welcome to my horror confessional, where every week I'll have a guest come on and talk about one classic horror movie that they haven't seen and why. We'll discuss the movie, the actors, and probably get off topic quite a bit. Once I believe that they have properly atoned, I will absolve them of their horror movie sin. Today we have returning guest neighbor Tim. In the past, we've discussed Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, and The Tingler.
The Tingler, yeah.
Welcome back to the show, Tim.
Thanks for having me. I was thinking of that, like, what did we do last time, and have I atoned at all for my sin? But I know I watched at least Let's Kill Uncle that you recommended last time. I watched that one.
Yeah, what'd you think about that?
It was cool. It was no, you told me about it a little bit, and I saw the name, and I was like, I wonder how quickly this kid's going to come to the realization, like, my uncle's out to get me, and is the uncle going to try to, play it off like he's not? And it's like, no, he just tells him basically, like, yeah, I'm trying to kill you, see what you can do about it. But
yeah, that's Let's Kill Uncle is a great William Castle. I think it's a late William Castle movie that not a lot of people have heard about, and I may have heard about it when I was researching for The Tingler, and I was like, yo, I got to see that. So I bought it on Blu-ray, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was just a lot
But
of fun.
I hadn't heard of that before. Like, I'd seen a handful of William Castle stuff, but never heard of that prior to telling me about it.
And so that was the last time. And then since the first time was Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Yeah. And we'll still talk about Henry, like, every now and then. You're like, man, that movie was crazy.
Yeah, it was definitely nuts.
And I look when we covered it, I think that was the first time that my friend Anthony Jerome, who's hosted the show before with me, he had heard of it, and he saw it, and he ended up really loving the movie, and saw it like a bunch of times within a span of a couple of days.
Like you, I mean, you watched it 3 times.
I did.
With bonus features,
I did, yeah. The show is a bit different now. I just don't have the time to do all that research and spend all that time doing the deep dive. But that movie is, I think you either love it or you hate it. But for you, I think you kind of landed, like, you liked it, but you never want to see it again.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I just don't feel like
that's not a go-to.
It's not like, right, it's not an evergreen. I'm going to watch this every year. But I definitely didn't hate it. I liked it a lot. It kind of lived up to what I thought the image I'd made in my head for decades,
Yeah. So what have you been up to since last time we talked? I mean, have you seen anything good, any good movies recently that you like want to discuss? Or
I feel like I really have I have just, like, not been watching a ton of movies. It kind of sucks, like, so on Fridays, my son, he's 4, we'll watch a movie Friday, so it's like, oh, I watched, Encanto or whatever. And
well, how do you like Encanto?
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it when like a year ago or so, when it came out or whatever.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was really cool. I watched that, put him to bed, and then I watched Castle Freak, and there's like some parallels a little bit.
Wait, okay.
I mean, we can talk about it later unless you want to.
Yeah. No, I'd love to hear this. But what did your son think about Encanto?
He thought it was cool. I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes he'll be watching the stuff, he'll be dialed in. Other times he's just like, jumping around. So I think I asked him, like, what was your favorite part? And he's just like, oh, them rebuilding the house. I was like, yeah, it was cool. I thought that was nice, but he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to, like, remember what I saw this summer. We went and saw Tales from the Hood.
Yeah, on
the big screen.
On the big screen, love that. That was so good. I hadn't seen it on the big screen before. Have you?
No, that was my first time on the big screen. So I was like, really.
When it came out, do you remember when it came out originally in the 90s? Do you remember? Like, I don't remember it hitting. I don't remember having the opportunity to go see it in the big screen. Yeah. On the big screen. I just know that I saw it on tape and DVD and Blu-ray and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I remembered the title, and I used to have the soundtrack, but I wish I kept it,
Yeah.
But I didn't see that movie until, like, my adulthood,
Yeah.
I missed out back in the day, I guess.
That movie is I think we were talking about it a little bit after the movie. It's really uncomfortable to watch that movie
Yeah.
because I think that a lot of people see it as a comedy, especially there's like that rap story with what's the guy's name? Yes, the shit.
Yeah, I'm Cuban B from
Oh yeah, oh that's right.
Clam Chili
Um
Not Baked. What is his name? Something
uh
Williams
Clarence Williams III. Is
third,
that I believe
right?
so.
Yeah.
But so like parts of that, like especially if you take from the trailer, you might think it's a comedy, but it's really, really tough, especially that last
Yeah.
segment where the one scientist is trying to rehabilitate the gangbanger or whatever.
Yeah.
It's and they actually show like real
Oh, like serious
pictures
real footage.
of
Yeah.
of lynchings, and it's like Jesus, it just hits you in the gut. It's like I did we see is it Spike Lee's Black, is it Black Klansman? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, that was the one from
I think
20.
you and I think we saw that together.
Maybe.
And
Yeah.
is that the one at the end they show footage from Charlottesville where people were
Yes.
getting
I think
like
so. Where they like that was like, yeah, like kind of a
yeah. And I
ahead
wasn't
of time.
expecting that, and I had specifically like not looked at that footage just because I knew it was gonna fuck me up. And then they
Yeah.
showed it, and it was like it was just a gut punch for me.
Yeah.
And it's the same feeling when you see like that last segment in Tales from the Hood. So and it always
That was
like I
like
always
a
forget it.
couple, sorry to interrupt. That
No,
was like a couple minutes, it felt like, in Tales from the Hood. It's not like some real quick thing. It's like really
yeah,
making a point, but I never, yeah, I never thought of that as a comedy. Like there are funny bits here and there, but it's not like if someone, if I think of horror comedy, that movie, it's like all real serious topics.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so today you are here to confess your horror sin of never having watched. Uh, are we going to say it's a classic? I don't know if it's reached classic yet,
I
but
don't know
with
about that.
Castle Freak from 1995. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, I don't
Uh,
know if it's a classic, but
hey, it's fun.
when
We're going to talk about it.
when did you see it for the first time? Or are we gonna
I
get
Yeah, no, for me, that I saw it the first time within the last at least 5 years.
do you
I
remember
think
when I'm sorry.
no, I was just saying I think it might be after the pandemic started. So
Okay. Do you remember when you first heard of it?
yeah, this is one of those movies that I've heard of for a very long time, and I remember seeing the box of my Blockbuster and being like, "Oh,
Okay.
that's scary."
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the I was going to talk a little bit about them later, but like Full Moon Features, which
Yeah.
is the one who they like specialize in like these B horror movies that I would remember seeing on the shelves but never pick up. And so this is just one of them.
Yeah.
And I'll go into the more of them later on. But yeah, so
Yeah, they
for
have some
me, this was just one I
real
saw on the
distinctive,
shelf but
yeah.
never picked up. How about for you? When did you heard about this first?
Yeah, I was gonna like I don't remember that from the video store as a kid.
Okay.
Like there's certain things I remember seeing, like I Spit on Your Grave. I just remember that box, just like seeing that at this very video, this place I'd go to as a kid. But I not until like between 10 and 15 years ago, I think I went to the movies one night to a place that had, all these old videos on the wall and stuff. And I saw the cover of Castle Freak and I was like, what the hell is this? And a friend of mine had seen it, but the name was like, oh yeah, I need to check out Castle Freak. But you know, I wasn't in that big of a rush, I guess, to see it.
Yeah. He's too busy attending punk shows and hardcore
Yeah,
shows
pretty much. Or just watching something watching
in
I guess.
content for the 15th time. But like this is one of those movies that like up until a couple years ago, it was just I had heard about it, but it never had, you know, just never pulled the trigger on it. Kind of
Yeah.
like The Mutilator.
Still never
Like,
seen it.
same. It's like that
Awesome game.
poster
Awesome poster.
he's got the hook right in his hand,
Yeah.
and I think the ladies are in the background and all that sort of stuff. And it's like that looks like a great movie,
Do you know the
or just the
tagline
poster.
for it?
Oh man, I forget.
Yeah, on the poster, yeah, it's got the guy with the hook, and it says like by hook, by axe, by knife, bye bye, or something like that. So that's one where it's like for years, I'm like, damn, I got to see the Mutilator, but I still haven't seen it. There's only so many hours in a day, you know.
So this was one of those, but I saw it a couple years ago. You saw it for the first time a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Overall, before we dive into it, what was your overall feeling of Castle Freak?
So you sometimes give me shit for not rating movies.
Well, we're not rating yet. We're not going to rate yet.
Okay, but I did. So thank you. I won't say it yet. Overall, I didn't know totally what to expect because I had an idea just based on something that I had heard before.
Yeah.
After watching it, it's not really true, but we could talk about it later. But overall, I enjoyed it. I mean, it was like certain things were kind of gross. Certain things that annoyed me that we'll get to, where I'm like, this is fucking stupid. But
yeah,
overall, I'm like, oh, I'd watch that again. Like, I was watching it. Brittany was like, my wife was asleep next to me, so I had headphones in.
Yeah.
I'm like, certain things, it's like if she wakes up, she's just gonna be like, you're a freak. What are you doing? What? You're a castle freak. But for the most part, like it's a winning combo, right? You got Barbara Crampton and whatever his name is, Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs and Stuart Gordon.
Stuart Gordon, like that.
They came back together. They did what, Reanimator together? Did they do? Was Barbara Crampton in From Beyond? I don't recall.
Yeah,
she was okay.
Same. Yeah. So like, this is my least favorite of those three, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah. So for me, there was some stuff that was excessive that I really didn't enjoy and really hurt the movie for me.
Yeah, some of it, but
yeah, it hurt the movie for me. But overall, it has its place. It's a enjoyable film. Well, enjoyable is a hard word to say. It was an okay film. I'll say that. It's
definitely.
It's exactly what I thought it was going to be with a name like Castle Freak.
Right. I definitely didn't dislike it. What was I going to say? Yeah, but like you said, I don't think it's a classic, but
yeah. So let's get into talking about it a little bit. Castle Freak from '95, directed by Stuart Gordon, who did Reanimator, From Beyond, and Dolls. He also wrote this with his frequent collaborator Dennis Paoli. If I'm saying that wrong, I apologize, but it's Paoli. Paoli, yeah.
I'm like a tiny bit Italian,
Are you really?
Yeah, like, but I grew up in Long Island, so people think it's like
Strong Isle.
Blooded. Yeah.
All right, so it's starring Jeffrey Combs as John Riley, Barbara Crampton as Susan Riley, Jessica Dollarhide. I'm sure that's not it, but that's how it's spelled.
That's how it's spelled.
Yeah, Dollarhide is Rebecca Riley.
Yeah.
Jonathan Fuller as Giorgio, who is the freak. I apologize for the language, but that's literally what the character is called. Massimo Sarcielli as Giannetti, Elizabeth Caza as Agnes. I'm saying Agnes. Luca Zingaretti as Agent Forte, Helen Sterling as Duchess Dorsino, and Raffaella Offidani as Silvana.
Okay.
So real quick, I was looking into it a little bit, and they started production on Castle Freak in 1994, and Stuart Gordon was in the offices of Full Moon, and just happened to see a poster for Castle Freak. So it's one of those things that they made the poster first.
I love it. Yeah, I read
just like Friday the 13th. He had the name of the movie. He had the name of the movie first. He made a commercial for the movie, which he showed in cons, and it was just that Friday the 13th coming closer to the screen and then breaking like glass.
Yeah.
and he took out advertisement in the paper with just the name Friday the 13th, and he sold the movie just on that. Then he wrote the script.
Yeah.
So that's very similar here. They had the poster already. Stuart Gordon saw it, and he was like, the director or the
producer, I
owner,
guess.
yeah,
Charles Band, right?
yeah, band. He's like, well, if you want to direct it, you can. It just needs to take place in a castle and include a freak. And Gordon
I
Stuart
think
Gordon was
there was
like,
one more
what?
stipulation
What was
was
that?
it needs to be made for not a lot of money, right? He said it needs
Oh
to
yeah, like
be
half a
and
mil,
a low budget.
half a meal ticket. So yeah, so he's like, yeah, sure, bet, because he had 100% say so on script and on
Yeah.
casting and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. So you know, there's only certain level that a movie can rise to when when the poster was made before the movie was actually written, and it supposedly takes is based on a H.P. Lovecraft short story.
That's what I was going to say. So when I was saying there was something that I had heard about it in the past, I had always heard. Have you ever read that story?
No, fuck H.P. Lovecraft.
I know you're not a fan. Hey, him and I have the same birthday, you know. I read this
Canceled.
before I knew about, what a piece of shit he was or whatever, but it's a short story called The Outsider. It's like 5-6 pages, and it's about this guy who sounds like he would be like the castle freak, right? Like living in some damp, decrepit castle, never uttered a word in his life, has no memories of ever interacting with anyone in his life, and has this like intense urge to see light, to be out and to see light and experience radiance, whatever. So
Yeah,
after years and years, he's like had enough, and he says, I'm climbing this tower that I'm in. If I fall and die, that's better than never seeing the light. So he
yeah,
climbs. Eventually his head hits something, and he's like, I'll be honest, I read this a half hour ago.
yeah.
I'd read it years ago. But that's why I'm well versed on it. I'm not like a fucking
You're Lovecraft.
Lovecraft biographer or something, but
Yeah.
he gets out and he's like, oh, it must be dark. It must be nighttime, And he finds out he's only made it to ground level.
Oh
Right. He
shit.
thinks he's on this high thing, and he starts to walk, and he finally, after all this time, he finds this other castle, and he hears these noises, and he's like, this must be people. I've never heard them speak.
Yeah,
I've read of them. It's like, okay, you could read, but you've never uttered a sound.
yeah,
But he goes in, and there's all these people there, like some type of party, and all of a sudden they just start fleeing in terror, and he's like, what are they all fleeing from, And he's trying to find his way out, and eventually he sees this like hideous beast, that chills him to the core, like this can't be a human being, this rotten, fucking decaying whatever,
yeah.
whatever of a man. And then he's like, it's getting closer to him, and he touches it, and he flees, and then at the end it's like he realized he touched this unmoving, smooth pane of glass, so he realized it was in him, and he fled out. So,
Okay. That sounds like a good. I mean, there's portions of that in the
it's a good
movie.
Yeah, and it's a good story, but I remember reading it and thinking, oh, this is like, there's this intense fucking desire to experience life, and then they're just like, yeah, well, we'll remake it, we'll call it Castle Freak, but I thought it was going to be like a remake, not a remake, but an adaptation of that. But that
Yeah,
was like a tiny little piece of it. But yeah, I read that. Have you ever heard of like Canon films, the action
yeah,
film?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They
Yeah,
made
of course. 80s,
like
huge 80s. Yeah,
yeah, like they're like these two Israeli dudes, and they called them like the Go-Go Brothers or something, because they would just try to get all these movies made, but it was the same. They would have these posters, basically like a title, a tagline, and a poster, and they'd try to sell it at film festivals. Like they'd go to
yeah,
like Cannes or whatever, and then after, if someone bought it, they're like, all right, we need to hire somebody. They need to write a script. It needs to fit this somewhat. I think that's kind of awesome. Just like, we're making this happen.
it's like a guerrilla sort
Yeah.
of guerrilla filmmaking sort of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's
but
like
like you said, not everything.
is gold.
If yeah, not or not everything was great if you're starting on that kind of, that's your foundation. It's probably not always great.
Yeah. And so, yeah, so let's talk about Full Moon real quick. So, Full Moon was a production and distribution company started by Charles Band, and they made like some of their more famous movies or notable releases were Puppet Master
Yeah.
and the whole Puppet Master franchise, Subspecies.
It's like a Species knockoff kind of, right?
Uh,
Or no?
it's their take on vampires.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Trancers, Killjoy, which is like a demonic clown,
Evil
Demonic
Bong.
Toys, Dr. Mordred, Dragon World, what was the other ones? The Dead Hate the Living, The Ginger Dead Man, Evil Bong. Like
Evil
this is
Bong
this,
is one of the things. They make like shit movies. It's like
yeah.
Trauma, it's like every once in a while they'll have something good and a lot of
Have you
crap.
seen Trauma and Juliet?
I don't think I have. Maybe I have.
I haven't. I've maybe seen one or two. Like Something Grannies is one of the trauma ones I've seen, and obviously, Rabid Grannies
Rabbit
is
Granny. I feel like I've heard the name, but
yeah. And then I've obviously seen the Toxic Avenger. They're coming out with a new one, which is crazy. But anyway, yeah. So Puppet, Full Moon features. Those are types of movies they made, and Puppet Master is another one of those movies that was always on the shelf at my
yeah.
local Ted's Action Video, and I just never picked it up. But Subspecies, I saw with family. We rented it, and we were all like all of us cousins were in a small room, probably like 8 or 9 of us in a small room and watching a small TV, watching Subspecies. And I think the cover is like of the one that we watched anyway, because it's a franchise. It's like a hand with like vampire nails holding some sort of gemstone, and there's like blood coming out of it. And it just sticks in my mind to this day. I don't remember anything about that movie. I haven't seen it in forever. I haven't seen any of the other ones, but that image is like burned into my mind. So that's Full Moon Features that
Something that I
released
heard
Castle Freak.
once, and I don't know if this is true, was, or I might be mixing up with something else, was that Charles Band possibly owned a castle in like Eastern Europe or something like that. So he was just like, we're making movies in castles, like I have this, we're gonna go, we'll shoot like 3 separate movies, because we're getting use out of this castle. But I don't know if that's true.
I read that as well. That Charles Band, that they filmed at the castle that he owned.
Yeah.
And that they went over budget, they went over time, and I think Charles Band and his family was showing up there for like some sort of family reunion, and it was like if they were filming, I think it was like the 8th of July, let's just say, and the family reunion was on the 9th, and they were going over, so like they had to clean everything out for that family reunion, and then they remade everything again for the movie so they could shoot another day or two or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of like low budget filmmaking. You got to use what you got, and he's got this castle. That specific castle is what he owned in Italy. So he's doing good for himself if he can afford a castle in Italy.
Yeah. It might be in disrepair, but
it might have a freak in it. But
yeah, people may not be able to hear someone screaming from a room over in it, but screaming for their life.
All right, so let's get started talking about the movie. All right, so after inheriting a 12th century castle which belonged to a famed duchess in Italy, John Riley, his wife Susan, and their blind teenage daughter Rebecca travel to Italy to visit. So let's stop for a second here. The way the movie starts, I thought was really, really interesting. Where it's like this old lady and she's kind of getting ready, or she's cutting bread, like a really thin
sausage and stuff.
Yeah, putting on a plate, and then she walks very slowly down to the dungeon, and then we see that she's keeping somebody there hostage, and just whips the ever-loving shit out of this poor
it was like the cat of 9 tails, I think they call those, with all those little things hanging on. Yeah, it's just like I'm like, yeah, he's in prison. Just give him the food and fucking leave. Why are you beating him? Like,
yeah, because he was chained to a wall as well.
yeah,
So she beats him or whips him with that cat o' nine tails, and then just leaves the food on the floor there. And the sounds that this poor person is making is just like, it's just terrible.
yeah.
And then she
That
walks.
was the one part that my wife saw,
She
and
saw the beginning.
she was like, "What the hell? What's going on?" But she didn't care to watch the rest of it.
Yeah. But they never take a chance on these movies, right? I think Hillary might have walked in, as she always does, towards the end of it for something.
Yeah.
I heard her turning the key to the house, and I was like, no. She's like, oh, you're watching a movie, yeah. Yeah, so terrible. And then so she finishes beating him, and then she very slowly walks back upstairs, and you see it's this old lady, and she lays down, and she's like huffing and puffing, and then she just dies of a
Yeah.
heart attack.
Right.
And
Maybe
so you
she
think,
wasn't going off so much, she would have like
yeah.
been all right,
And then you think, oh shit, that poor person is going to be down in that dungeon until they come to find her body missing, or this person's missing, and they discover her body. But they don't even discover them there. They have to wait to reach out to somebody, to her distant family in America. They have to drop what they're doing, take a flight out. Like, how long do you think has passed? How long has that
was my
poor
question.
person been without food?
So yeah, so that was my question, because it's like it cuts back to the Duchess. Basically it shows like to show time has passed. It's like there's no milk in the cat saucer, there's mold on the bread, and then it cuts to her, and her face is like moldy.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm like, how much time has passed? Just for her to die. And then by the time someone's coming all the way from America, I'm like, but I mean, it's a stupid question for a movie like this. How is this guy surviving down here?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'm especially being chained to in the wall. Like, I don't know.
yeah, no water, no food.
Especially to then have all that energy to do what he does.
To eventually be like superhuman at times. That's obviously the biggest, one of the biggest complaints with the movie. It's like,
yeah,
this dude's like jumping off of stuff now. He broke his own. Well, yeah, he breaks his own thumb off.
Yeah, he's swole.
Yeah,
it's like, all right. So then we come to find out from a flashback that John, the patriarch of the family, was an alcoholic and was driving his kids around, like coming home from school or whatever the case may be, and got into an accident, and the car flipped, and somehow the daughter was blinded. Was it glass got into her eye?
Yeah, and they even like in the movie show like scars around there and stuff. But yeah, I think they show like glass sticking out of her eye, basically.
Which I think in 1995 we already had safety glass in windshields,
yeah,
in the cars, but who knows? I think that's like the silliest. She could have just been born blind, or I mean, if you wanted him to be angry, or the wife to be angry at him. I don't know. There's other ways to do it, but it just seems silly that part for me.
That was like it was early in the movie, obviously, but
yeah.
It was like a heavy shift that I wasn't expecting. I missed, they were arguing, because it was like they got to the castle and Barbara Crampton was like asking the woman, oh, could you make up another bed?
Right. Yeah.
Another bedroom. And she was like, oh, is someone coming? She's like, no, for my husband. It's like, okay, they don't sleep in the same room.
Right.
First, I thought he said like, I haven't had a drink in months or whatever, but I thought maybe he had been like cheating or something. And they had this flashback and his son died. I was like, it was like a 5-year-old son or whatever. I was like, holy shit, I wasn't expecting that.
And he also said like, I haven't touched another woman or something like that.
He did say that then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I imagined that. Like,
I think he's saying like, because I'm not having sex with you, I could be running out to other women, but I'm not doing that, which is not the flex that you think it is.
Yeah. Say, wow, pat yourself on the back,
Yeah, so the daughter was blinded in the accident. Then they lost a son, and Susan blames him for that. Um, so they're in the castle. They made it to the castle. The maid has set up rooms for them, and then John asks how long it would take to liquidate everything because they don't want it. Which, if that was the case, you could have just stayed at home.
Right.
Like, why did you need to come here to say? You could have just been like, "Hey,
Bring your whole
liquidate the whole
family
thing."
here to,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but anyway, so on the advice of the estate's executor, the three plan to stay at the castle until they can liquidate the estate. Unbeknownst to them, the Duchess's son, Giorgio Orsino. Oh, so we're just gonna go right into it. This I got this from Wikipedia. Giorgio Orsino, who was imprisoned and tortured by the Duchess, still lives in the dungeons of the castle.
Yeah.
So that's once they get there into the castle, the daughter is the first one to start hearing noises in
Just
the castle.
exploring. Yeah.
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 Yeah. That whole scene with the cat was so freaking frustrating. Like there's a cat and because she's blind, she can't see where the cat is. And the cat's like kind of leading her further and further into the castle to see where I was gonna say the freak. Let's say Georgia. Yeah, Georgia, where Giorgio is imprisoned. Um, but you're I don't know. It was frustrating to me. What did you think about that?
Well, what was frustrating? Was it like
Well, like that she would go off. See, I know she says in the movie like that she wants to be
she
independent.
wants to be
She's
independent?
learning to
Yeah.
be independent, but like you're in a new place. You're in a castle, dangerous. You're following a cat further down into a dungeon sort of thing. I don't know. It was
Into the unknown. Yeah. You have
yeah,
no
into the
idea what
unknown.
you're saying.
But that part was frustrating. But that doesn't happen now. That happens later in the
I was gonna
movie.
say frustrating that though is the dad. She's like trying to talk to him and he's like, um,
Oh, he's obsessed with whatever.
he's just like brushing her off, but it was for something really silly. Like he was just like trying to look at a photo or he found the cat of nine tails. Maybe it was
Yeah,
the
around
Duchess's
that same
bedroom.
time. Yeah,
But
which he was probably thought that she's getting freaky or something.
yeah.
But that's also silly. The connection they make. Like he finds the cat of nine tails. We're just gonna go out of order. That's fine. The connection he makes where he sees a cat of nine tails, and then at the end of the movie, where the whole movie he's been like trying to get people to. Well, no, first the daughter was trying to get him to believe that somebody's there,
Yeah,
and
it's like classic
then
parents don't believe her, she knows there's something there.
yeah, and then something happens where he's accused of murdering somebody, and so he's like, "Well, it wasn't me, so somebody else has to be there," and he makes the connection because of the cat of nine tails, and it's like, that is such a huge
So
leap,
wildly, yeah.
wild leap. But so um, the cat that what's her name?
Rebecca?
Jessica, no, Rebecca. Yeah, sorry. The cat that Rebecca was following eventually goes into Giorgio's cell, and he ends up eating that cat.
Yeah.
Just going to town on that cat.
That was the thing that, it's like, I'm not a screenwriter, but you watch it and it's like the parents don't believe her about anything. Why wouldn't you just be like, there was a cat, like let's see if we could find this cat. The cat wasn't even in the cell anymore. It was just like a wet, bloody mess after that. See
Yeah.
that? What are you gonna think it was? Like a wolf? Like it's not like, oh, a mouse did this. I don't know. That was kind of
Yeah. Both parents are kind of like treating her with like kid gloves,
yeah.
because I actually don't know how old she is in the movie. Is she still a
Like
teenager or
she's like a
not?
high school kid or
She is
something.
okay.
No,
Uh,
I just said she seems like it, but I don't know for sure.
yeah. Well, the reason why I say is because maybe if she's still a kid, then it's okay to be treating her with kid gloves. But if she's older, then maybe they shouldn't be. But they are, because she was just recently blinded.
Yeah, it's
And
just adapting to a new way of life.
yeah. So this part that happens here, he eats the cat, and then Giorgio kind of like in the story that you were mentioning, wants to go free, like he wants to roam the castle, and so he nasty. Do you want to describe what he does to his thumb?
Yeah, so he's got like the shackle on his wrist, on both wrists, and it's through a like a lock on the wall or a loop on the wall.
Yeah.
So to get, I'm thinking about like the physics of it, but yeah, so to get, he has to get one of them off, and
There you
he
go.
there you go. He has enough strength that he could just like now you gotta be like thinking about what I'm gonna say. He's pulling it, he's yanking the thing.
He's cranking his
He's cranking it. But it's like his flesh is like so rotten that it's just coming off. It just rips his thumb off.
well,
Which if you don't have a thumb, it's from the downward force of the metal shackle, but it's like if you don't have a thumb, the stuff he's doing later in the movie, it's like you don't have a thumb on that hand. You're not picking stuff up. You're not like having crazy grip strength and all this stuff.
Oh yeah, I didn't
You
even
don't have a
think
thumb on
about
that
that.
hand anymore. You just have like an open wound there, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever, you know.
Well, like he bites
Oh, that's right.
bites the thumb.
Yeah, that was like, oh, don't wake up. I don't want to break
But he bites the thumb and
to
then
get it
breaks
started.
it off, which allows him to slip off the manacles.
Oh, is that how it is? Okay. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. And so then with one off, he's able to take the loop out of
The loop, yeah.
the thing that's in the wall. That looked great. Like I really love that. I mean, it looked terrible, like horrible, but
No, but yeah, it was effective. It looked
effect.
like it looked realish.
Yeah. And then I'm not sure, I don't think we've seen yet how the face
No, I don't think so.
it's so far, but when we get there, I thought it looked pretty good. So then Giorgio begins to roam the castle, prowl, and he even like they're having dinner, and they hear the glass some glass break, and they run out to see what it was, and a mirror broke, which is
That's like the only thing like that story.
Yeah.
You know, is like he sees his reflection and gets super angry about it and breaks it. But what did Jeffrey Combs say? The wood in this mirror definitely warped. Like, yeah, dude.
Oh, to explain the breaking.
Yeah, it's just shattered for no reason, you
know. Jeffrey Combs, I always enjoy seeing him in things, but I never think of him as an actor that I like. But I like him in everything I see. He's got a good presence, and he looked so suave. And I think he's a short guy.
Short king.
He's a short king, but he looked good in what he was wearing, and like he looked very confident. And I well, except when he was like shit faced drunk, but like I think he was running around in like a white dress shirt, like button, like the button unbuttoned all the way down to his navel or something like that. I'm like, okay, I see you when you're in Italy. He's rocking it. So
when in Rome, right?
Yeah, but we didn't even talk about like Barbara Crampton as well. Like I know I said her name, but like it's just amazing. It's just great to see these two actors working off of each other again.
Yeah. She like I've seen, obviously I feel like she's been in more stuff than him that I've seen.
Yeah,
she's always good. But this, I was almost for a while, it's like she was not even really doing much in it. It was
that's the one thing.
Or just her being like just hating him, which it's like, his actions killed their kid. I get it, you know what I mean? But for a while I was like, I wish she had a little more to do in it. It was just like her hating him and trying to protect the daughter, but like you said, like the kid gloves kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think she gets a bit more screen time towards the end when she's protecting her daughter, but I think if we were to go like measure it like a time stop, a time watch, I think the sex worker, what's her name, Raffia? No, Silvana. Yeah, probably had more screen time than Barbara Crampton. Might had maybe more dialogue too, even though it was in Italian and we didn't know what she was saying. Like, yeah, I'm just, it's just for me to say that I agree with you. I would have liked to see more Barbara Crampton. And that's not meaning naked because because she was supposed to be fully naked in this movie, but she ended up just showing her breasts. And because she said that because she's like, the castle is too cold and I'm not going to be, she's like, I'm not going to be filming in this cold ass castle completely naked. So she just showed her breasts. Yeah. Which I love that she was able to advocate for herself.
Yeah.
So that's my dog. Is that Chewy or is that Chente?
Did I always get them mixed up? I'm sorry.
Chewy is the tan one. We got Chente first.
Yeah, it's Chente. Okay.
So a little behind the scenes, a little behind the scenes, Tim is reporting in the house right now. So, all right. So then, you're in the basement. So Giorgio begins to roam the castle. And then he gets into the bed, into Rebecca's bedroom, and that was really weird.
Really creepy
because she is. Is this the scene where she thinks she's talking to her mom? And then she says, if I ever meet a boy, he's gonna be a special boy or something like that. And
he'll accept me. If he accepts me for being blind, we know off the bat he's like a good person.
Yeah. And in the meantime, she's taking off her blouse or whatever. And she's just there.
I think that might be the later part, I think.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So in this case, he's just like looking at her this time.
Yeah, and like
I think he like reaches out to her,
breathing and stuff, and yeah.
So then she claims there's someone in the house. John believes her, but Susan does not.
The thing, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I was saying before, there's so many parts like that where it'll be like, she'll be like yelling, and it's like the castle, you see it's big, and it seems like almost like there's two separate buildings. It almost seems like certain times.
Yeah, there's like a foyer or center place. Yeah,
but I'm like, how do they not hear certain times? She might be like yelling about that, and then it'll be like the next day or something. You're like, oh yeah, someone was up there. I don't know.
And it's like
not that extreme, but
well, castles are also not known for like their sound dampening qualities. There's echoes, and you hear it throughout the whole. Not that I've been in a castle, but you would assume how the sound vibrations.
Yeah, you watch some Hammer horror.
Yeah, exactly. So, so John is racked with guilt about the death of his son, and the fact that his wife is still rejecting him. He goes to a bar and gets completely shit-faced, like is asking like the bartender pours him a drink and he's like, no, this much. He just downs it.
But that's after there's a couple scenes where it's like he finds all that wine in the castle, doesn't drink it. The woman who's kind of taking care of the castle at the moment offers him a drink, he doesn't accept it. When she kind of tells him like the history of the Duchess and the son and everything, he doesn't accept it, but by that point he's like out getting hammered.
What do you remember the history of the Duchess and the son? I don't recall that off the top of my head.
She said that the Duchess was married to like an American soldier, and they had a child, and the that's like a spoiler. She said she had this son, Giorgio, and the US soldier, the American soldier, just left, so she was stuck with this child, and the child died at a young age, but the rumors in the village were like she killed the child. But nobody knew that was like the gossip that she was telling John.
Gotcha. Did you say the gossip?
The gossip. I didn't, but
okay.
But John, because I think John was saying like he had heard creepy noises at night, like moans, and he said to the woman, hey, do you hear anything at night? And she's like, oh, did you? And then she said there's a legend that his ghost roams like the castle, I think is what she said.
Okay.
She was wrong. It wasn't a ghost.
He also didn't roam it because he wasn't free at that time. But they probably heard his yelling or whatever, thought that
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
a ghost. Yeah. So he goes to the alcohol, or sorry, he goes to the bar, gets completely shit faced, and then that's when we meet
I'm
Silvana.
sorry to interrupt one more
Yeah,
time.
go ahead.
Did you catch when when Giorgio is first out in the house and Jeffrey Combs is like trying to find him? And did you see it? And there's a part where Giorgio's hiding under a sheet on the floor, because there's
No,
shit covered in sheets, and you just see this one sheet rise up like a foot and move a little bit and then go back down. That was like some nice comic relief. I don't know if it was intentional, but Jeffrey
yeah.
Combs is looking around, can't find anything, and just see this little, it's like a Looney
Was
Tune.
this now or is this later on in the movie?
I don't know. I think it
Okay,
was around then.
okay.
One of
Yeah,
the,
that's hilarious. I saw it on Tubi. I know you have it.
I found some, some website. I found some
Yeah, yeah.
crummy rip. I don't know. So was it really dark on Tubi?
That's exactly what I was gonna say. It was really dark, so I may have missed some things because it was so
I
dark.
can't remember the name of that website where I found it.
You wouldn't download a cartoon.
No, no, I would not.
So he meets the sex worker Silvana, and she's really charming. Like she goes out to him and like asks for a smoke. He's like, I don't smoke. Or sorry, she asks for a lighter for a cigarette. He says, I don't smoke. But there's a language barrier there, and so she just lights her own with her own lighter. So you automatically know what's happening there. And
He didn't, but
yeah, and he ends up trying to leave, but she wants to go with him, and I think he assumes that she's attracted to him. I don't think he's made the connection that she's a sex worker
no, he
yet.
definitely had no idea. I think he's getting kicked out of the bar, basically. They tell him they're not going to serve him anymore, and he's like, it's closed for me or it's closed for everyone. And the cop's like, no, it's closed for you. Like, you need to leave. And he tells her, hey, I know a place where there's plenty of wine, and it never
Right.
closes, because it's like in the wine cellar in the castle or whatever.
The boldness of this dude. He takes a sex worker back to his house where his wife and child
Yeah.
are living
Well,
in
like
the same roof.
but like you said, he was clueless. He didn't even know. I think he just thought he was like suave, like he didn't realize that she was a sex worker.
Yeah. So so they leave and they end up going to the castle, and they open up a bottle of wine and they start drinking. She takes something funny too. Like he opens up a bottle of wine with one of those like screw things on, and then you pop it like that.
Yeah, like the corkscrew.
The corkscrew, yeah. And then he hands it to her and she puts it in her purse. So either she walks around with a corkscrew in her purse or she's just stealing from him. Which either way is
He's like,
great.
I'm trying to liquidate this stuff. I don't need this.
Yeah. So then they start making out. I think they start having sex, but he can't finish. Maybe he remembers his wife. I don't remember exactly what happens there, but he can't finish. And then she's like, oh, that's fine. I'm here. I did
Yeah.
my part of it. And she asks for her money. And he's like, oh, that's when he realizes, oh.
He's like, oh yeah, okay.
So he just like throws some wadded up money at her. And maybe it was too much. He's like, no, just take it. And she ends up leaving. And as she was leaving, she is,
He was, yeah, because he just got out of there. He was like ashamed.
yeah,
He's like, I've gone off the wagon again and I'm cheating and all this stuff. So
yeah. And um so he leaves, and then she's like he doesn't even like show her the way out. Like
no,
this
I
isn't her
know.
house. She doesn't know what, so
He
she
didn't
kind of
try
gets
to catch.
lost. She kind of gets lost, and she is assaulted by somebody who we don't see, but we assume that it's Giorgio. And we don't see what ends up happening to her just yet.
So on Tubi, do you see eventually what happens?
Yes, we see everything. It's terrible.
Okay. Like you see what's up with his anatomy.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But when we get there, I'll ask you to describe because I don't
Okay.
remember. Um, I guess we can just talk about it now. We don't have so trigger warning for extreme violence against women. He ends up taking her somewhere else to another room in the castle, and like she's terrified, and he's like coming on to her, and then he like bites off a breast.
That's like
It's like,
her nipple or
yeah,
something.
her nipples. It's like Jesus Christ. Like this is the part of the movie that lost points for me. It says I'm getting kind of tired of violence against women just for the sake of violence, like
Yeah.
excessive violence. I know it's the horror genre, and I know
Yeah, it's like some
that
gore. Yeah.
typically what you see in the movies, I don't think we've been seeing that
That's
much of
Italian
it.
style, I think. Like you ever
Yeah,
watch
100%.
Burial Ground? You ever see that?
No, I don't think I have.
There's this guy in it who is in his 30s but looks like he's like 12,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and he
yeah. I forgot
bites
the
off
name of
his
that.
mom's nipple in it.
Yeah, I saw that at the Draft House, one of those
Dismember the
Dismember the
Alamo.
Alamo ones. Yeah.
I might still have it. I had some magazine, like some horror magazine or something, where they included a Christmas ornament, just like a cutout of just like that dude's face, that Peter Bark, that actor from Burial Ground, and I'm like,
Yeah.
who the fuck is putting this on their tree? You know, like that was funny, but
Yeah. So he ends up doing that. And then he also, even worse than that, he's like, he, he's, he eats her vagina, right?
yeah, I guess down.
Like
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, like if he was going down on her, but he's eating instead, like literally
Oh,
eating.
oh, I don't know if I even noticed that. That's
Yeah, like literally eating because there's blood everywhere. And like,
yeah.
so that's fucking terrible. And then what was the part about his genitalia? I don't recall. Was it cut off
He's
or
like he's a eunuch. I don't
he's a
know if
unit?
because he's just walking around like barely, maybe like a sheet on.
Yeah,
You
he's got a
know?
sheet on.
So like at that point you see that he has like testicles, but he has no penis. So it's just you assume it's just this dude's getting tortured at the beginning of the movie. You just figure that happened to him
Yeah, that's
at some
that.
point in his life. You know,
Like the version that I saw was so dark that I don't know if I saw it. I might have and forgot, but I don't know. Was it like graphic? Like did they show it for like a couple seconds, or was it more like as he was walking
they
by
showed
sort
it
of thing?
enough that
Okay,
that I noticed it. Yeah, it's
okay.
just like, you know, just like nothing there basically. But like I said, the transfer I saw was like kind of dark, so
Yeah.
I don't know, you know, how much if
What
it,
website was that again?
I don't remember the name. It's like it wasn't YouTube, but
I always
uh,
wonder what for a eunuch is a eunuch when they cut off their testicles or when they
oh,
cut off their their penis? Because if you cut off your penis, how does somebody pee? You know,
right.
like
I don't know.
there's
Maybe I'm wrong. I know, what do they call that when they would cut off people's testicles?
let's look it up. The
Castrato?
castrated.
Well, there's castrated, but there would be like, you know, like fucking European kings would want these people to. All right, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm gonna look it up as well, real quick.
So
But in
castrating is removing the testicles of a man. Eunuch is a man who's been castrated.
so okay, castrato, it says, is an Italian term, is a type of classical male singing voice equivalent to that of a soprano, mezzo soprano, or contralto. The voice is produced by castration of the singer before puberty. So they would have these high voices.
Yeah,
So, you
but
know,
but then castrating is just removing the testicles.
yeah, I
Yeah.
guess, yeah, they say that's like a eunuch is someone who's been castrated. He didn't have a penis. He had testicles because they were just like swanging at certain scenes, you know. But
All right. Okay. But yeah, so this scene, what Giorgio does to the sex worker, what he does to Silvana, maybe technically like the makeup, the prosthetics look cool in the blood, but I didn't like this.
Yeah,
And
it's like chill out.
this dropped it. Yeah, so this dropped it in points for me overall. But anyway, so moving on. John learns that at this point, this is when John learns that Giorgio is his half brother and
Yeah,
that the
that was
Duchess was his father's first wife.
that. Do you remember how we found that out? That was kind of
No. Oh, was it?
like,
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
so it turns out Silvana is has a child with like the head police officer. There's like Carabinieri or whatever, that bald cop guy. And so he's like, she was last seen, the cop's like, she was last seen with you, we want to inspect your castle or whatever. And he was like, well, I fucking asked you to look in my castle yesterday for this guy and you wouldn't. Now you want to come in? Like,
Yeah.
no, you know. But
And then the cop was like, well, yesterday you wanted us to come in and now you won't let us.
yeah.
I
And
like
he
that little
said,
exchange there going back and forth.
I'm gonna talk to my lawyer. So he finds his lawyer, and his lawyer's like, oh, yeah, sure. Like, I think he's telling him like there's nothing to worry about, like she'll turn up and then it'll be fine. The lawyer gets a call at this bar, and it's his sister who's taking care of the castle. And she said, hey, we just found that purse, we found Silvana's purse at the house. And the lawyer's like, oh, don't worry about it. You get the purse, give it to me. We'll talk about the extra money you're gonna pay me. And he's like, what? And he's like, well, there's new developments here, so you're paying me more money. And John's like, well, that's blackmail. And he's like, yeah, whatever, like you owe me more money. And he's like, you bastard. And the lawyer is like, well, actually, let me give you a little history lesson. Your dad was married to the Duchess. He left, he got married to a woman in America and had you. So your parents' marriage was never legal. You are the bastard, and then he's just like, that's how you figure it out that he's Giorgio's brother.
Yeah. And then he also, at that time or around this time, he ends up going down into the basement.
It's like a tomb
into their crypt. Like they have a crypt down
yeah.
there, like a family crypt. And he goes and he breaks down the, whatever the stone monument or whatever, pulls out the casket, opens it up and sees that he opens up Giorgio's casket. And you would expect to see a skeleton there, but it's just rocks. So that's how he verifies that there is actually somebody in the castle, and it's Giorgio, right? Yeah. But backing up a little bit, so he finds out about his father's first wife, who was the Duchess. The Duchess chained Giorgio up and tortured him all of his life because her husband abandoned her and their son for her sister, who was John's mother, and they went to America.
I forgot that it was the sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the police arrest John upon discovering the bodies of the sex worker and also the maid. So the maid, who was John's lawyer's sister,
yeah.
like I forgot how she stumbled across the body of the sex worker, but she stumbles across it, and then Giorgio ends up killing her. And so
when you're like, oh, this dude's got like, now he's got like superhuman strength, like you said, he's like kind of buff and stuff, and it's like, dude, you've been locked up for your life,
yeah, we saw what she was feeding you, like
like a piece of bread and a little slice of sausage or something.
It's like that Mickey Mouse cartoon where they've thinly sliced bread, and then you could see the bean in between the two slices. Like that's what he was getting for dinner,
Yeah. Well,
and he's Popeye over here.
Yeah.
So they arrest him, and when their attorney sees the body of his sister on the ground, like he attacks John, and because obviously, so they take him in, and Susan and Rebecca stay the night in the castle, and they pray together for forgiveness for John. And then the police have left 2 policemen there, and these bumbling police officers, um, one of them falls asleep, and the other one goes to get water um, for Susan and Rebecca, and he disappears and doesn't come back because, of course, Giorgio killed him. I don't remember how the first cop got it. Might have just been a neck snap or something.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
And so Susan asks the remaining cop who was asleep. She's like, "Hey, where's our water?" So that cop goes to find his other cop friend and finds his body, and then Giorgio kills him. And I think he's still wearing the sheets, on his head with the cutouts, and that looks cool. That looks also kind of like the creature design was kind of great. What did you think of him like in the first stage before we even see his face?
Yeah, it's cool. It's almost like he's wearing like a toga with a hood, just the way it is on him. You just see like his limbs coming out and stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't go full Michael Myers in the first Halloween. Remember when Michael Myers wears a sheet over his head with the eyes cut out? He doesn't do that. Giorgio actually wraps it around him, like you're saying, like a toga. So then obviously Giorgio kills both policemen. Then he abducts Rebecca and chains her up in his cell. This is that part where she's like talking to her mom about the boy that she's going to meet and all that. And she's in her bra. And like, I think he's like reaching out to her. So it's just very creepy vibes.
Really creepy. And that's like the cover I've seen of it before. I don't know if that was like the original poster. And I'm like, this was like a very brief scene. It's just like, hey, let's make the poster, a woman in her bra,
Well, a little, if she's the age that you're, I don't think if she's high school, she's a high school age girl in a bra on the cover of your movie is really, really weird. So then Susan learns of Giorgio's weakness and seduces him. I think this is where she shows him her breasts,
her shirt to try to lure him over to her.
Yeah.
But this is when she's like when she's kind of getting more stuff to do in the movie, I feel like, is like this last little bit.
Yeah, like the third act or the last half of the third act. So this distracts Giorgio long enough for Susan to rescue her daughter and stab Giorgio, making him angry. Back in the police station, John is like arguing with the cops, and actually the bald cop, we have found out already, had a kid with Silvana. And so he's really pissed, and like he hits him with the baton or whatever. And John is able to escape.
I already forget how he did, but
yeah, I do as well. But he escapes. He escapes the police station after fighting with some of the policemen, and he goes back to the castle. And by this point, Susan and Rebecca are on the roof. Sorry.
Yeah, he already knew, like, because they tried to leave. I forgot about that. They tried to leave to go back to America, and the cops said, "It's an investigation. You need to stay here." And he was like, "You need to get my family out of there." So now he was in the protective mode, finally.
Yeah, because he knows that they're there. They shouldn't be there with, somebody. I don't think. Yeah, he knows Giorgio's name. Giorgio is killing people. He's killed that sex worker, so they're in danger. So that's why he runs back. And he finds them on the roof, and they kind of just go back and forth fighting. And he ends up.
Giorgio's yeeks out the whole time. All these shots where it's just like his ass just.
Yeah. And at this point, the sheet's off, right? We see the face, and the face looks great. I mean, you see right there. For the people who don't have the Patreon with the video, you're not seeing Timmy's face here, but you're also not seeing the Castle Freak's face. But yeah, I thought the creature design looked great.
You know what? Looking at that behind you now, you could see how long his nails were.
Yeah.
And there were certain scenes like where he was like trying to touch Rebecca and stuff, and obviously she couldn't see him, and it was like, oh man, it was like nails were like 2 inches long, like bloody and stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty
You're
creepy.
just like, ugh.
Yeah.
So John ends up sacrificing himself to pull Georgia off of the roof, which kills Georgia, it kills both of them. And then Susan tearfully forgives John, and they reaffirm their love as he dies.
There was a
The
part, oh sorry.
No good.
There was a part earlier in the movie where he almost said like, I feel like there's a part, I might be forgetting, where he almost said like, maybe I should just kind of kill myself, like I've ruined your life, I've ruined our daughter's life, all this stuff. So at the end, it was almost like, oh, is he like happy to do this?
Right. I mean, I guess that's like the ultimate sacrifice, right? To save your family.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they would have liked to have their father as well. So
Yeah.
if he could have figured out another way to do it, but so he ends up forgiving him, or if he ends up sacrificing himself, and then we do see Sylvana's son with his father.
Yeah.
So it's later after that incident has happened. We see that they're carrying John's body in a casket, and then behind them, that's when Susan and Rebecca are like walking behind it, and then I guess they're going to take the body back to America. They get in the car, the cab, to go to the airport, and that's when we see Sylvana's son and Sylvana's son's dad, which I believe that's I forget the guy's name.
I don't remember his name. I just
Yeah.
know they use carabinieri is the word they use, which I know like from watching like Italian crime movies. It's like police officer, so it's
Oh,
just
okay.
the title, not a name.
Gotcha. So we see them. We see him holding the little boy's hand, and then that's the end of the movie.
All right, real quick before
Yeah.
that ended, that scene. So John jumped, like you said, sacrificed himself, but Barbara Crampton, they had a few final words before he passed away.
Yeah.
You watched Repo Man with me once, right?
Yes.
All right, so I don't know, it just like there's a scene in Repo Man right near the end where Emilio Estevez's like former friend, this guy Duke, is about to die, and he's like the blood coming out of his mouth, and he says, it's just something like, I know a life of petty crime has led me to this fate, yet still I blame society. Like something about Jeffrey Combs's face at the end with a little trickle of blood. It was just like all I could picture was Repo Man. So I was like, oh, that'd be great if he, instead of giving some heartfelt message to his wife, if he just blamed society instead.
Or would have been like, see what you made me do.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
So that was Castle Freak from 1995. So for me, I enjoyed it. Like I said, it had some negative aspects of it, but overall, like I think the acting was good. Like you can't go wrong with Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton. I'm not familiar with the rest of the actors in the movie, but the acting was good. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm not really either. I looked up like the actor who played Giorgio, and I think he may have been in other. Let me look right now, like maybe other Full Moon stuff.
Yeah.
The same like the actor who played Rebecca. I don't know if she was in much. So yeah, Jessica Dollarhide. She was in this and Video Zone, the making of Castle Freaks. That was it.
Yeah.
But Jonathan Fuller, who played Giorgio, it's like The Pit and the Pendulum. I'm pretty sure that is,
That's another
Stuart
Stuart Gordon.
Gordon thing. Okay, Arcade, Albert Pune, who made like
I'm looking right now to see Nemesis.
Nemesis, yes, exactly.
Yeah, Nemesis from 1992. That was a fun one.
That was cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, that same director, Albert Pune, made something called Arcade that this guy was in. I'm like, ooh, maybe I'll check that out.
Yeah, yeah.
Universe,
So, so for you, let's get a rating from you of 5 upside down crosses. What would you give Castle Freak?
Yeah, so like I said, this time I actually did it, like beforehand when I logged it on Letterboxd. I gave it 3.5,
Okay.
Um, I can't really say it's like a 4-star movie, but I enjoyed it. I would watch it again at some point. I'm just, like I said, not gonna rush out to watch it again, but
3.5 is a lot for a movie.
I figure like if that's a test, that's like a damn, what is that? Is that like an 85? That is too high for that. I'd say 3, maybe. Maybe I'll change that.
All right. So you were like at 3.5 upside down crosses.
Yeah, maybe I'll bump it down to 3. Three and a
That
half. No, because now I'm trying to think of that. Like, what is this as like a letter grade,
yeah.
for a teacher. I gotta try to think of it like that. And I'm like, is that like 85? That's too high for this, probably. But I'd say 3. But 3 sounds just so middle of the road. And I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't know
I'd say three
what
and a
I
half.
was
I'll
thinking.
stick with that.
I have it on Letterboxd, and that's the problem with like going on there and rating something that you haven't seen in a very long time. But you're like, I generally remember how I felt about it.
Yeah.
I gave Castle Freak 4 stars on
Hey,
Letterboxd. The fuck?
it's caught you at the right moment last time.
Yeah, probably. But no, I need to amend that immediately. I was almost at 2.5 stars, really. But like Jeffrey Combs,
Bumping it down from that
eh,
even.
yeah, Jeffrey Combs, Barbara Crampton, like, and I like it had a bit of like, it's not a giallo at all, but
No.
because it was set in Italy, it had a bit of a, maybe not giallo feel, but I just love, I guess I love horror movies set in Italy.
Yeah, it had like a little bit of like kind of atmosphere like that in the beginning, like
oh yes, yeah, exactly. With
when they
yeah,
showed
which
up to the house, they had like all these paintings with the skulls and stuff like that, and this bed has some weird carving thing on. Like I thought there was a little bit of like a not a gothic kind of vibe or anything, but like a little bit of that kind
yeah,
of.
oh definitely Gothic, just because of the castle and all that. But I think yeah, I'm at 3 upside down crosses for Castle Freak,
I
and
might have said
then
stars. Yeah, I'm sorry.
wow, please, um,
But yeah, this
yes,
this doesn't have like the class of like you watch like some old Hammer thing or an old like an old Vincent Price kind of or what's his face, Christopher Lee, Peter
yeah.
Cushing, like one of those. They really those like nail the atmosphere. This just had a little bit of that.
Well, it definitely was one of those movies where you feel dirty watching,
Yeah.
and if after it, but yeah, I think I'm confident with the 3 upside down crosses. What we do now is that we used to, this is your first time back in a while,
Yeah.
so we used to do the thing where I would suggest 3 movies to
Recommendation.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what we ended up doing instead, which I found is a bit more fun, is I'd give you one recommendation and you give me a recommendation of a movie in the same vein, so that way I have a bit of homework too, because there's movies I haven't seen as well.
Okay.
All right, neighbor Tim, so what is a movie that you would recommend to me in a similar vein to Castle Freak?
This is a recommendation. I've never seen this, so
Yeah,
hey, your mileage may vary on it, but this is there's not much probably like Castle Freak,
Castle Freak.
so I have to find something kind of similar. I was looking through Jeffrey Combs's filmography,
His oeuvre.
his oeuvre, and you're saying like this kind of fucked up calling this guy a freak. So he was in a movie 7 years prior with maybe a kinder title. which was called Cellar Dweller. That was a Jeffrey Combs movie from 1988. So I'm just looking real quick. It says rated R, horror, an hour and 18 minutes. That's like a sweet.
That's folding laundry movie.
Yeah, exactly. That's 26% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, that's concerning. That's concerning.
But yeah, that's a movie where it's like I'll finish watching a movie and be like, it's only an hour and 18. Maybe I could watch another one. And I fall asleep 10 minutes in. But it says Colin. Is that okay if I tell you the blurb? It says Colin Childress, Jeffrey Combs, a highly successful comic book artist who gains inspiration from a mystical book of horrific drawings, inadvertently summons an evil spirit into his basement studio. Decades later, his house has become a small art institute run by the stern Mrs. Briggs. One night, comely student Whitney Taylor goes rooting around the sealed boxes in the cellar and releases the supernatural forces trapped there.
Okay. That sounds great.
Could be good. Could be like, this could be like USA Up All Night or what was Monster Vision kind of movie.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Combs is in it. I don't know anybody else that I recognize, but Deborah Ferrantino looks familiar. These are like faces you'd recognize.
Okay. So for me, I think I'm going to recommend to you Castle Freak, but from 2020. So there was if people don't know, there was a remake that came out in 2020, similarly titled Castle Freak, directed by Tate Steinsiek. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, who in the past has directed just shorts. So I think that this was Castle Freak was his first like movie besides shorts. And there's not many other names that you'd recognize in here, I don't believe. But I just really want to see how they made it different and made it their own. They updated it. Of all the movies that like Full Moon has done, like why were they like, man, we're sitting on this gold mine and we're not like capitalizing it. We need to make a remake to Castle Freak,
I wonder if because I haven't seen a ton of those movies, but I've seen Trancers. I remember thinking that was pretty cool. At least I've seen the first one. I think I've seen like Puppet Master, at least the first one, but again, they have so many of them.
Yeah.
But maybe this is one that actually gets some respect, because it's like, they're not going to be like, hey, let's remake Evil Bong. I mean, they are. They probably made like, Evil Bong versus the Ginger Dead Man, like type movies like that. Maybe this is one where they were like, if we're going to remake something and make more money off of it, like let's make one that at least is more decent than the other ones,
Yeah. I'm recommending it to you, but I think I'm also going to check it out because I'm just curious what they do with it. And then I'm going to check out the other one that you told me about. Cellar Dwellers. Okay. Cellar Dwellers. There you go. So that's the show. So Tim and I are going to continue our conversation about this movie and other stuff on the post show, and it is called the Sunday School Sessions. That's available on Patreon for all my Patreon subscribers. If you want to support the show, patreon.com/myhorrorconfessional, you'll get access to the Zoom recordings, as well as early access to the podcasts, and also the Patreon exclusive Sunday School Sessions. So we're going to continue our conversation there, and we will talk to you next week. Tim, thank you so much for coming on the show again. Yeah. I forget, would you like people to follow you on Instagram, on socials, or no?
And I was just thinking like, I know normally people you have on, it's like, you want to promote something? They're like, yeah, like they have books and stuff. I'm just like, I stained my deck today before I came here. Like, ooh, I painted the deck again. People can follow me if they like on Instagram. It's In My Headache, all one word.
And if you want to know what that means, what that's a reference to, stick around to the post show. We'll be talking about it there. All right, everybody. Thanks, and we'll talk to you next week.